It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. The world is in massive crisis and is about to plunge into economic collapse and larger regional wars. The top mainline analysts we're going to be covering today say will probably lead to a third world war, which will birth the new world order, just as Albert Pike, head of the Illuminati, wrote back in the 1870s. Wow, what a broadcast lined up today. Assad says Syria at war as battle reaches capital. Reuters. Just like with Libya, British SAS are reportedly, according to some Israeli publications that we talked about yesterday, leading the attack towards the capital with his compound under siege. We told you that yesterday. Here it is out of Reuters today. And Turkey's talking about striking, obviously flying their jets in, just as they'd planned with Saddam to get him shot down as a pretext. And who are they putting in charge? We're going to be going over this today. Backed by NATO, Turkey steps up warning to Syria. That'll be the pretext. Syria state media, gunmen storm pro-government TV station, kill 3. They got black ops squads attacking. I mean, this is big time. Debka file is breaking down a lot of this. And here's Paul Joseph Watson's story. And you got to go to Infowars.com to see these photos. They are nothing less than amazing. It's one of our top stories. Syrian rebels ransack Christian churches, burn them, desecrate Jewish and Christian graves, beat them up with hammers, urinate on them, just like they did in Libya. And here they are wearing the sacrament robes that a Catholic priest or Orthodox priest, this looks Catholic, would wear, and desecrating the churches and dressing up in the priest outfits and, again, urinating on things and stuff like that. Can you imagine? I mean, you know, somebody burns a Koran, it's the end of the world. And I think people shouldn't do that. But, I mean, it's their First Amendment right. But this is going into people's churches and burning them down and stealing the sacraments and dressing up in the priest robes. Al-Qaeda. And they've said Jews in Syria are double dead. Christians will be expelled from one of the oldest Christian enclaves in the world. And if they don't leave, they are to be exterminated. And the moderate Muslim group that is the dominant controlling group that Assad's a member of is out. And you can see the ransacked churches, the blown up churches, the burned down churches. If you go to the bottom of the article, we have the urinating on graves, the beating up Christian and Jewish graves with hammers. It's all there. Of course, you can also see the lining up blacks and chopping them up with machetes in Libya. You don't hear the NAACP talking about that, and you aren't going to hear about it. Here is the knocking down of Christian and Jewish graves. This is, by the way, these guys, AFP and others have shown it, they wear Al-Qaeda patches and run up Al-Qaeda flags, as Fox News and LA Times reported. And I'm not patriotic. You have to understand. And they're like, oh, it's because Obama's a Muslim. No, it's because the globalists run Al-Qaeda. They ran it in the 70s. They ran it in the 80s. They ran it in the 90s against the Serbs. They run it now. And they'll use the threat of Al-Qaeda that they control, the jihadis they control, to menace the United States so they can federalize everything. This is an elementary fact. So Syria, with the Russian troops in it, is in a asymmetrical warfare, black op infiltration. This is always an old way to bring down a country. You just send in a bunch of special forces to dress up like locals, like the MI6 got caught doing in Iraq, to kill one group so a civil war starts. And watch what's happening in Syria. This will be the globalist plan in America. We'll be right back. Broadcasting worldwide on the global shortwave and satellite XM channel 166. Simulcasting on over 100 AM and FM affiliates, and #1, according to Shoutcast and so many other metrics, Google Analytics, when it comes to free audio streams and talk radio podcasting. I'm Alex Jones, your host. The websites are Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, Infowars.net, and, of course, PrisonPlanet.tv and many other auxiliary data sites as well. A lot of news right now we're going to be breaking down today, and we have a special guest joining us that I'll tell you about coming up here in a little while. But if you go to Infowars.com, you can see the story that was the top story earlier this morning and has now moved down to the bottom of the featured news section. And I'm going to have one of my webmasters move it back to the top and red link it, because if this won't wake up the West to what's happening, nothing will. We're told, give up our rights because radical Muslims want to kill us, while the government brings in record numbers of Muslims, and we don't see terror attacks taking place. We're told that Al-Qaeda is literally incredibly evil and powerful and hiding in our basements, hiding under tables, sneaking out at 3 a.m. like bed bugs to lavish themselves on our flesh. Meanwhile, in the real world, the 7/7 bombers in London, MI6, Fox News, London Guardian, it came out hidden in plain view. It was run by MI6, and they set up patsies who were taking part in a drill. It's all hiding in plain view. The underwear bomber, the shoe bombers, all working with the government, set up as mentally ill patsies, put on the aircraft by the U.S. and British governments. On record, C-SPAN, congressional hearings. On and on and on. They've had over 100. I mean, even the New York Times has had to admit this. Over 100 the last 3 or 4 years. Fake FBI stings of mentally ill welfare recipients, normally under 80 IQs, some of them mentally retarded on record, not just mentally ill, schizophrenics, you name it, setting them up to bomb buildings, bomb the Christmas trees, so it's a good PR stunt at Christmas. Oh, look at those Muslims. Good thing we're taking all your rights away to fight them. Good thing we're in all those countries. Meanwhile, real Al-Qaeda was created by Jimmy Carter via the Taliban, continued through the 80s, used in the 90s by the Clintons against Serbia in the south. I'm not on a side here of the Albanian Muslims or the Serb Christians. The point is, they didn't start the fight. They sent them in and basically took the equivalent of their Southwest and created it into a new NATO globalist narcotics trafficking enclave where they kill the Christians that won't leave Kosovo and sell their organs, and it comes out in mainstream news, but it's back of the paper. So all of this is going on. And we saw a 6-7 month bombardment of Libya, tens of thousands killed, over 40,000 total, blacks lined up and murdered, hacked up with machetes by jihadis, predominantly out of Saudi Arabia, flying Al-Qaeda flags and wearing the black patch of Al-Qaeda on their shoulders. And we saw it in Reuters, AP, LA Times, Fox News. We told you first with our guests like Webster Tarpley, who had the courage to actually go over there. He also went to Syria earlier this year. In fact, I want to get Tarpley on maybe tomorrow or Friday about the situation geopolitically and get off the domestic stuff that's so divisive and doesn't go anywhere. But the point is I want to get him on about geopolitical issues. All of this is unfolding. All of this is happening. And if you live in reality, it's not even hidden. The system doesn't even hide that they gave Tripoli over to Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood that's globalist run, and that they gave now the surrounding border regions in Turkey and in Jordan and in other areas to real Al-Qaeda, the same folks that do interviews saying, yes, I fought the Americans for 5-6 years in Iraq, and I still like to kill them. I've seen these newscasts, but I'm going to kill Gaddafi first, and then I'm going to kill Assad, and then I will kill you. And they're putting him in charge in places like Egypt. I mean, congressmen are now finally talking about this. So this is something where the system thinks you're so stupid that A, they're going to use the magic skeleton key that can open any door they need of Al-Qaeda to take our liberties, Europe's liberties, Australia, they take their freedoms. The name of Al-Qaeda, it's like this imaginary, like telling kids, better be good or the boogeyman will get you. And that's why they used to have all those wives' tales. They tell kids, don't do what you're told. The bad witch come get you. You know, in the old days, people wonder why kids were so well behaved. You didn't need to really spank them 200, 300 years ago. They would read them fairy tales, folks, and tell them the boogeyman's going to come get you. Well, that's what happens with adults. Bin Laden is going to come get you and hurt you real bad if you don't let TSA dump your father or grandfather's ashes out on the floor and laugh at you, or rob your bag, or take your wife behind closed doors and take her bra off and grab her breast and ask her out for a date, or, you know, take old ladies back and strip search them, or make 95-year-old cancer patients who are going home to die in Michigan walk even though they can't walk, make passengers pick them up as you scream at them, or as my grandmother's coming back from a wedding in Mexico, as my cousin wanted to get married in Mexico, coming back through Houston, being screamed at by people and told to move when she's on crutches, and nobody even offered her a wheelchair. She had polio in the 50s and can barely walk. This is what America is, okay? It's done on purpose. And meanwhile, we have photos and videos and mainstream news in Europe, but it's back of the paper even there, where Al-Qaeda and jihadis are knocking down Jewish and Christian headstones in Libya and in Syria. We've got links to stories where they're urinating on things, defecating on things, going in Christian churches, burning them down, blowing them up, ransacking them, and then clownishly dressing up in, you know, the priests wear those sacrament outfits over their robes with the crosses, the Orthodox and the Catholics. They're dressed up in those, robbing everything. This is all going on right now. This is all going on right now. And do you see the neocon sites covering this? No, you don't. Do you see anybody talking about it? No. WorldNet Daily is. No one is talking about this. You would think that all the big talk show hosts want to talk about this. You know, here's Obama with Al-Qaeda. But see, it isn't just Obama. This has always been the way it's been. You know, I told somebody 10 years ago, hey, Al-Qaeda was created by our own government. Oh, yeah, we know about the blowback. No, this isn't blowback. Oh, but we're over there fighting them. Oh, have you read the Sunday Times of London? Have you read all the admissions where British and U.S. troops would capture the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and would be told, let them go, and would be told, give them chest of gold and fly them into Pakistan to start the next destabilization campaign? It's called the airlift of evil. Even Newsweek reported on it. Just like it's reported our troops are ordered to grow the opium. This isn't debated. People say, well, if this stuff was true, it would come out. And then it has come out. It has come out. It has come out. You know, Pat Tillman wrote letters home to his family. I remember talking to his family. They wouldn't come on the show. His brother, like 5, 6 years ago, right after he was killed, before they even released some of them. And it was like, yeah, my brother was talking about opium and how, you know, it's really all a big scam, and how they have these photo ops and there's no real Al-Qaeda, and how he's going to come home and speak out against it, and was killed. And then turned out they did murder him because he wouldn't play along with this. You know, I have a friend who's a famous athlete. I'll just leave it at that. And he admires Pat Tillman, and he wears his dog tags around his neck, a copy of them. Has given money to, you know, foundations and stuff. And I was sitting there having dinner with him, and I said, you know, they killed him. And he goes, yeah, I listened to your show. I know they did. But still, he's a hero. And I said, well, yeah, he is a hero for telling the truth, not just giving up the millions to go over there to fight with his brother. But he's even more of a hero because he had the moral courage to say, you know what, I was conned. And he goes, no, I know that's true, but I just don't want to talk about it. It's just too horrible. Well, you know what? You think Pat Tillman wants you to not, just to forget about it and go, I just want to remember the guy that gave up his NFL contract and then went over there. No. Pat Tillman, if he was sitting right here, I'd say, Pat Tillman. I could talk to his ghost right now on air. Pat, do you want us to shut up about how they killed you? and shut up about the opium being grown and how it's all fraud. Pat, you want me to shut? Pat Tillman would say, absolutely not. What do you think I got killed over? I mean, this is no-brainer, ladies and gentlemen. This is a no-brainer. I could get killed doing this. And you know what? That's not a big price to pay. I'm not worried about it. Because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The good Lord is in control. And if God lifts the hedge and lets them come in and get me, which, believe me, the enemy's right there. If God wasn't in control, I wouldn't be here. It happens. I'm not going to be mad at God. I'm walking out the parking lot one night, and they conk me on the head or taser me, and I'm in the back of a truck, and they torture me a little bit before they kill me. I'm going to feel satisfied. Not going to be happy I'll never see my kids again. I'm not going to be happy that, I'm not going to ever get to go fishing or hiking or see my grandmother again or my family. But you know what? I'll be satisfied knowing, I faced the evil. I did what it took. I stood up for the innocents. I told the truth, because that's what everything good is built on. We wouldn't be alive today and have any freedoms if our forebears didn't put a lot more on the line. I've heard a saying, freedom isn't free. You bet it's not free. And it's not just free to go kill some Muslims because the New World Order says so. By the way, the Al-Qaeda on record took, on average, 14-year-old conscripts, this is admitted, and put them in a third line out around the cities in Afghanistan. And that was the drone, dummy, decoy targets. And remember how the Northern Alliance would complain, the drug dealers, hey, we're not allowed to attack the cities or the real bases of Taliban and Al-Qaeda. We got to shell conscripts because it wasn't a real war. It was all fake. All fake. It's a simulation. The average age of the person taken to Abu Ghraib, 14 years old. They go grab innocent people. You don't grab your own Al-Qaeda forces. It's all staged, all fake, none of it's real. We'll be back. Let me get into the news here. So we have the top story now linked in red. You'll have to refresh Infowars.com as it had scrolled down the page. We now have it linked in red up there at the tippity top. Syrian rebels ransack Christian churches. Well, actually, they ransack, burn, blow up, desecrate Christian churches. But as usual, Paul Watson is somewhat restrained. I guess he is British, so that is, I guess, kind of the... He's a great guy. The point is, it's always restrained with Watson, even though it's horrible to see it. Syrian rebels ransack Christian churches. And you can see the defacing the gravestones, the urinating on them, links to Libya, murdering the black people, hacking them up with pleasure with machetes. It's all around liberal and loving from the Peace Prize winner, Barack Hussein Barry Soetoro, whatever his name is, Obama. So just thought you might want to know about that. And you might want to ask the media, hey, why are we and our tax money and our troops and our advisors going to do this when the Al-Qaeda groups are in uniforms with Al-Qaeda flags and patches saying we're going to kill all the Jews and we're going to kill Christians that don't leave? And they've actually been killing Christians, blowing them up and stuff. So, again... And it is only a certain group of Muslims, in reality, that are into this stuff and really will do this stuff. That's why all over the Muslim world, you've got ancient churches, people live side by side in peace, until the jihadis, funded by British intelligence when they wanted to take over some of the governments that were industrializing. Look up Lawrence of Arabia. They created Saudi Arabia, all of it. It's on record. Those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. That Hitler took over that network of the Muslim Brotherhood and the headquarters and all the rest of it, of those different systems, what was left of the Ottoman Empire. And then after World War II, British and U.S. intelligence took it over, and they were trying to build skyscrapers, build power plants, sell their own oil. They had secular poets and people like Mossadegh in charge of Iran, and they said, no, meet Mr. Jihadi from Saudi Arabia. He's coming in, he's going to blow up things, and then we're going to blame it on you, and then we're going to take over. And that's all declassified. And so the Muslim extremists, billions of dollars spent, this is even in the Washington Post, but they say it was an accident, from the 50s right through the 90s for setting up madrasas with children's books saying, murder America, kill the Christians, 3 hand grenades plus 3 machine guns, it creates 6 weapons. I mean, look this up. And now They're killing Christians and Jews everywhere. And it's like, oh, yeah, so we got to be in all these countries because they're killing people. Except they're not killing people in the countries we're in. Our government has us in those countries to put the jihadis in. All right, I'm done talking about that. I'm going to get into a bunch of other news, then open the phones up. Fast and Furious is going critical and more straight ahead. Oh, man. You know, Robert Plant lives in Austin. He lives there almost full-time, I've confirmed, out on Lake Travis. I think I'm going to try to get Robert Plant on the show. All right, side issue. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to shut up right there. Okay, what else is going on here today? By the way, Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins, new hit album out. That bombshell interview that we haven't even had time to write articles about yet. He covers TSA, New World Order, world government, the Matrix reality system, all of it. I've never heard him go this far. That interview is up on the lower right-hand corner at Infowars.com. Very exciting to see this awakening happening. I mean, he's been a listener for many years. Discovered that years ago, but to actually talk to him privately, hang out with him when he's here in Austin. But he's never really gone public with all this stuff, and he really began to do it with us yesterday on air. Pretty big interview. In fact, I titled it The Real Billy Corgan, Down the Rabbit Hole, but I think I might change it to Billy Corgan, smashes the Matrix or something. I don't know. Pretty powerful interview. He's a smart guy. You know why the media attacks him. Okay. And again, he's not, 10 years ago is what you call kind of a liberal because he wants freedom and stuff. He's figured out, well, that's controlled and the right's controlled. I mean, it's just very exciting to see that awakening taking place. A lot of other people awake as well, but they never have the nerve to come on the air. And that's okay. I understand. I understand that. All right, I'm going to shut up at that point. Oh, man, I tell you. I know too many secrets, interesting things people would like to know, but I'm only told this stuff because I keep my trap shut. And then people even tell me stuff that isn't in confidence, but then it makes it in confidence. You know what I mean? Then I can't ever talk about it. Very interesting things. Okay, that's enough. Here's the point I want to make right now. I'm up here having fun, trying to have some gallows humor, joking around a little bit. Just hearing that Deep Purple made me happy. Now I'm in a pretty darn good mood, and I've got all this very serious news here in front of me. I mean, look at this. They've got Al-Qaeda and jihadis and Muslim Brotherhood people running around, murdering and killing Christians and Jews, blowing up churches, dressing up in Orthodox and Catholic priest outfits, desecrating things, robbing things, urinating on things, kicking over gravestones. And I'm supposed to like this. I mean, and I'm supposed to give up all my rights because these people are coming to get me, but the stinking criminal banker-run government is the one controlling them on record. I mean, it's too much. It's too much. And now it's confirmed there's all sorts of special forces, just like Libya from the West, leading jihadis into Damascus and a siege of the presidential compound, and they're going in and blowing up and shooting up TV stations. I mean, this is how you take over. The U.S. is one of the few countries you can't do this to because everybody's armed. If somebody tries this stuff, people are going to kill them. But if they ever got control of the TV, as long as something says Fox, CNN on it, or CBS, you could put an alien up there in a general's outfit going, I am General Whipplesnap. I now rule you. George Washington is a stinking pig. If you want to collaborate, please line up. And you'd have all the city leaders lining up, and the green alien would bend over and say, now prove you submit, kiss my rumpus. And the average sellout yuppie would say, we've always been ruled by the Gwibble-Snap aliens from the Quickle-Snack star system. And it's a conspiracy theory to say they aren't the legitimate government. And we need the UN taking over. Of course, that's satire before the New York Times. I've had this happen. I've joked around, and then it ends up in the newspaper that I'm being serious. But, I mean, you get the point. Guys, does that make sense in there? I mean, my point about you could have aliens come in, take over the TV stations, and the U.S. could resist them, but they wouldn't if they had, say, on America's Got Talent, Howard Stern introduced the alien. Alien leader, you will get to judge who the winner is tonight. And people say, well, that's it. I support the alien leader.
It is Shakespearean in its absurdity.
It is Shakespearean in its absurdity?
Yes, sir.
I would say it was Vonnegut, Kurt Vonnegut. How would you Vonnegutsian? Vonnegutsian? Okay. You know what I'm high on right now? Adrenaline. I swam 2 miles this morning, and I went out to the lake, and I said, look, you're not going to swim half speed. You're fat. You're degenerate. You're weak. What is the point of jumping in this lake if you're not going to swim hard? So I swam hard to the point of stopping for a moment to vomit in the lake. Now I'll be arrested for 10 to 21 violations, and I feel absolutely turbocharged right now. I don't even know if I should be on air right now because I feel like $1 trillion. I really do. Okay, that's enough. Back to the insanity. I said I'd go to your calls. Here is some of the other news we have here. So, Syrian rebels ransack Christian churches. NATO-backed thugs desecrate places of worship. Isn't that nice? You can go see that. I'm going to Twitter this out. In fact, I bet Watson already Twittered it out, but everybody needs to check that out. I guess twitter.com/RealAlexJones. Can we check the Twitter? And you can just click on the icons at the top of Infowars.com. It'll take you there. Thank you. This is out of the Russian news. Assad, Syria in a state of war. As they say, Western forces are invading. Imperial troops have entered the base. Imperial troops have entered the base. Continuing, Turkey mobilizing media manipulation, provocation, or reality. Zero hedge. Turkey mobilizes for war with Syria. Another article. Condi returns, calls for violent overthrow of Syria. Oh, that's trendy. Here's Reuters. Assad says Syria at war as battle reaches capital. And they're running around saying, start a new humanitarian bombing campaign. Got to put al-Qaeda in. That's how dumb they think you are. They want to put al-Qaeda in, and then they're going to slaughter the Christians and Jews, and it'll be oh, well, shucks. Yeah. TSA needs to grope you. You saw what al-Qaeda did over there. I mean, they even say, we've got to take your internet freedom because of Stuxnet that our own criminal government now admits they created, that I told you a year ago they created. Right again, and I'm bad. I'm bad because I'm right again. Okay, I'm sorry. Backed by NATO, Turkey steps up warning to Syria. New York Times. Yeah, we're going to fly our jets in on strafing run test, and if you resist, you're dead. Here's Herat, Syria state media, gunmen storm pro-government TV station, kill 3. The Ministry of Information attacked. But, I mean, those are protesters. Peaceful, nice, friendly. I mean, come on. They're just blowing up some churches and dressing up like priests and urinating on Jewish graves. I mean, that's trendy. I mean, that's come on, don't be anti-Islam, okay? You're supposed to give up all your right and hate all Muslims who aren't involved in this, but then when the real al-Qaeda's put in, they're good guys, okay? I mean, come on. Come on, it's freedom. The absurdity is just driving me over the edge here. Okay, let's get into a Daily Caller article, exactly my thoughts yesterday. I never even got to this. Arizona congressman administration has declared war on Arizona. And they have. Already all over the country, most cities, 800 plus, will not arrest illegals for drunk driving, no insurance, but citizens have the book thrown at them. And I've talked to people inside the prosecutor's office who've come to my office, high level, off record, and said, oh, it's worse than you think. They tell them to give $10 fines to the illegals, no ID even needed. That's why all these criminals from Mexico come up here, you know, like the railway serial killer who killed dozens of people, and he would get arrested all the time but had all these fake names. Now they're announcing they're going to make a bunch of illegals legal. No judge, no jury, no Congress, violate the law, Obama is. And now they're telling Arizona, we don't care what you arrest illegals for. We're never picking them up. Rape, robbery, anything. I mean, this already goes on in Houston. Reports hundreds of thousands. You heard me right. Look it up. Hundreds of thousands a year in that county metro area. When I saw the headline years ago, I couldn't believe it. It's over several 100,000 released, and many of them aggravated felons. And it said arson, rape, robbery. I mean, look, if you're an illegal alien, you can come here and grab kids off the street and go kill them, women off, rob banks, 5, 6 welfare checks. You are God. But if you're a citizen, you are the lowest dirt of the planet. I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian. If you're an illegal alien in this country right now, you are God. God. And if you try to come here legally, you are trash. So there is that report, and they are announcing, listen, we're going to make the illegals legal, and when you arrest them for crimes and want them deported, we ain't picking them up, Jack. This has already been going on. I'm glad it's out in the open now. This is the totally lawless criminal government we have. Let me continue, though. I got to say it. When people do the right thing, I've got to give them credit. Boehner, the Speaker of the House, Boehner, says they will go ahead with contempt vote against Mr. Fast and Furious. They say the House will move forward with a contempt of Congress vote against Attorney General Eric Holder over the botched gun trafficking operation known as Fast and Furious. That's like saying Jeffrey Dahmer grabbed teenagers off the street and killed them, and it was botched. It only got botched because he got caught. I mean, right here, the only reason they got botched is because they got discovered. It goes on. Here is another one, the New American. ISA, gun control agenda behind Fast and Furious. The memos that have been out for 8 months are now public. I mean, they're now good. I can't believe ISA's actually covering it. There may be a real war inside the power structure. We can use this to really get a bunch of these people in prison. It could happen like Nixon, but Nixon was an angel cake compared to Obama. People are like, but wait a minute, it's left-right paradigm. Listen, if Mitt Romney does anything like this, if he gets in, I'm going to say throw him in jail. This keeps them honest. This scares these tyrants. This backs them off before they run off and start World War III. Good. Arrest all of them. They are not invincible. Arrest John Corzine for MF Global. Go after them. Arrest them. It's time. And push Obama into staging a false flag. We're going to expose it's you this time. We're watching. Our people are everywhere when you put the underwear bomber drugged out of his mind on the plane. Witnesses said he could hardly talk and was drooling. You're a little Manchurian idiot. That the State Department admits they were ordered to get on the plane and give him the visa. Didn't even have a passport. We have you now. You understand? We have you, and there's nothing going to stop us. Because we don't have any choice. They're going to ruin and wreck everything. They got re-education camps shut up. They got the military ready to go live on us. We're just going to wake the military up. You ever heard the saying from Korean War when the Marines were surrounded? And a famous commander, I forget his name. Guys, look it up. They said, sir, we are completely surrounded. And he said, good. Don't let any of them escape. Do you realize how good it is to be completely surrounded with the enemy out in the open? You can't miss. The targets are 360 around you. You can only fight when you're cornered. That's when you've got the moral authority. That's when you've got it all. People think that's a ridiculous statement. Good, don't let any of them surrender. Don't let any of them escape. That's the whole point. Draw them out. Get it going. Let's get it going. Let's get it all out in the open, you New World Order trash. You got to be in it to win it. You got to be committed. You got to say, come on, you want it, you got it. Anything you want, you got it. Come on, we're tired of this creeping around business. Why do you think for over a week they shut down all the groping at the airports when people were going to opt out? They didn't want to give you a chance to show it was all a fraud. So here it is. ISA is saying wow, thank you for actually saying it was a false flag. The headline should be, ISA admits, ISA says documents show it was a false flag to demonize the Second Amendment. And the memos that are public now admit they were going to ban semi-autos. Bare minimum new sales of them. And then try to make you register the others. They tried last year to ban all shotguns that can bottom load. Remember that? No law, just, we're just going to do it. You see, these people aren't invincible, ladies and gentlemen. They're a bunch of cockeyed bullies. Look at this. Here's another one. CNN sinks to 21-year primetime ratings low in second quarter. Oh. U.S. Army admits troops conducting law enforcement is illegal. Big article, Paul Joseph Watson. That's at Infowars.com. Get this out. This is powerful weapons of truth. Okay, enough from me. Let's go to some phone calls now. And then I got all this other news. Okay, good. So we are completely surrounded. Good, we can attack in any direction. And what general was that in Korea? You just actually put it on screen, and I can just read it. That's the best way to do it. There you go. Quotable quote. And then I don't. There it is. It's Army officer. Yeah, no, I've seen it credited. That was General Oliver P. Smith. Yeah. Sir, we're surrounded. Excellent. We can attack in any direction. Absolutely. Good. Good. People think that sounds crazy. That's what you want. Get them out. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it on. Come on. Try to get our guns. Come on. Implode the world economy. Pose as the saviors. We're going to expose you. See, they've already pulled the trigger, though, folks. In fact, I'm going to get to that later. Remember last week, Larry Summers, who helped engineer this, comes out and says, avoiding a global catastrophe. And he says it probably can't be avoided in the Washington Post. Big banks craft living wills in case they fail. CNBC, they're getting ready to implode everything, folks. Mediation fails, pushing Stockton towards bankruptcy. Biggest city to go bankrupt yet. All part of the plan. We've got to expose who did this. Dean in California, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex.
Hey.
All of us love you, my friend.
Well, we love you, brother. What's on your mind?
You are the modern-day Paul Revere.
No, I'm not.
Go ahead. You are. I want to share a few things with you, my friend. I went to an Appleseed Project event this past weekend. I shared your Infowars cards with everyone. But some of those Appleseed event attenders are kind of still in the dark. And I stressed the importance of the magnitude of what's going on and that they really need to wake up.
For those that don't know, tell folks what an Appleseed event is.
Well, it's just encouraging everyone to remember the spirit of 1776 and what our founders fought against. And it has magnitude and modern-day implications, as you know, for today.
Well, you're right that everybody should go out and get rifle training. They do these programs all over the country. I've had the director of it on, who's an old vet. Great thing to do. The rifle is just incredible. And everybody needs to learn how to use a rifle at 100, 200, 300 yards. It's as easy as kiss my hand. And I'm going to get the Appleseed Director Project leader back on. And then we should all go to Appleseed events and use those as recruiting grounds to unlock people's mind to the next level. Yes. Anything else, sir?
I'd like to share one more thing, Alex.
Stay there. We're going to come back. We're going to go to Lawrence, Ray, Rob, Chris, and others ahead of a guest we've got coming on with bombshell info. Stay with us. You mean banker agents. Whether you're a good federal agent or not individually, the country was taken over a long time ago. And if you love the republic and want it back, you've got to admit foreign banks have taken the country by fraud. They brag they've done it in Europe. They brag they've done it here. In all their publications, they laugh at us as they engage in hardcore crime. And if we sit here and put up with it, that's our problem. We're not going to put up with it with Fast and Furious. Holder, all these criminals, the head of Homeland Security, they need to all go to jail. That's how you signal the world that criminals aren't in control of this country anymore. Jail, jail, jail. They hate this country and our freedom so much they did it to blame the Second Amendment. Put them in prison. And believe me, nobody else gets up here and talks like that. Folks, I'm risking my life because there's no future if we don't stand up to these people. We've got to beat them. Do you know where they want to take us? They've built stinking re-education camps. The Army admits the documents we got are real and says we're not supposed to have them. You understand? They got re-education camps for you. It's not for the Muslims that they scapegoat. The hardcore globalist Muslims work for them. Figure it out. It's for you. It's for you. There's so many globalists and collaborators. I say we release all the nonviolent people out of prison and just put them in prison. Give them their jury trial, everything. But I guarantee you, I could get up before a jury, put these different globalists, different banker heads, different politicians up, put Obama on the stand. Did you write the letter saying the UN commands our military? I'd read from the Constitution. That is treason. Jury, how do you find? Judge, you give us the sentencing. Or jury, give us the sentencing. It's real easy. I could convict, as a prosecutor, all of them right now. I could go in there in 1 hour in front of the jury and destroy all these people. Their crimes are so public. I'm ranting. I'm sorry. Dean in California. Go ahead. What was your other point, sir?
Alex, one last thing. 1776, we really need to reawaken this. And coming up on 4th of July, here's what I'm doing. I'm wearing your 1776 shield shirt. I'm going to be out there at our local town 4th of July celebration. I'm going to be handing out your cards. I have flyers and giving people the links to all of your movies: Obama Deception, Fall of the Republic, Invisible Empire, Endgame. It's going to say, wake up to the tyranny, engage your fellow Americans, and remember the spirit of 1776.
Absolutely. That's why I saw an article I didn't get to in the Army Times of all places, bad-mouthing the War of 1812 and saying we lost and making fun of the U.S. And I went, my memory is most historians said we won that, and it was a very righteous war against our people being kidnapped on the high seas and stuff and pressed. And I went and refreshed my memory, and most historians, I saw the votes on historical sites, 9 out of 10, even in foreign sites, say we won that. And here was Army / publications saying we lost a war and that we were stupid and the president was stupid. The traitorousness that I see out there. I appreciate your call. God bless you. It's just unbelievable. Let's talk to Lawrence in Virginia. You're on the air. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
I have a question and a comment. Actually, a statement. First, do you really believe that there's actually going to be an election in November between Romney and Obama?
I think anything is possible. They are getting ready. That's what I was going to cover later, for the collapse of society. There's no doubt they've never been more dug in and ready for it. I mean, I'm telling you, if people aren't getting pins and needles, if people don't have the hair all over the back of their neck standing up, they don't have any connection to discernment.
Or reality, for sure.
Yeah.
What I wanted to bring up actually was about the TV. I think other people said it before, but people really need to turn that thing off. I talk to people that watch it all the time, and when you listen to them speak, it's like they're parroting a news anchor. It's crazy, totally brainwashed.
No, that's what they do. They're in a subconscious sleep level. Stay there. This is important. Back in 1 minute. All right, coming up, establishment media is getting people ready for a total collapse where they'll pose as saviors. But it's getting really creepy. We're continuing with your calls now. I got a guest on for about 40 minutes or so. Then we'll continue with calls right through to the end of the show. And a bunch of other world news we haven't gotten to yet. But right now, let's go back to Lawrence in Virginia. Lawrence, you were talking about, and you got cut off by the break, people that are big TV watchers. The average adult thinks 4.5 hours a day. The average child's over 6. The average video game player is an additional 3+. I mean, the numbers change each year. It gets worse. That's the numbers are a few years old. I should look up the latest numbers. But I've seen numbers of some people that watch up to 14 hours a day of TV or video games combined. It is insane, and they are in a dreamlike state, and they repeat whatever they see on television, thinking that makes them smart. It's only one echelon of people that even watch the news, and they think they're smart just for watching it, and they will regurgitate what they heard like they're showing off that they're smart. Still others that don't even watch the news, they just get the messages from TV. That's why the dramas, the sitcoms, the fiction is just laced anti-family, you name it, anti-gun. And for those of us that are awake, it's like watching clowns on PCP like lemmings run off the edge of a cliff. Go ahead.
Well, people tell me things like, well, I don't let it control me. I only watch certain things to get this information or that. And, they've never read stuff like Edward Bernays' information. And I don't think any of us are smarter than them. They've been practicing this for over 100 years. You're trying to, it's like trying to outsmart the devil.
No, exactly. You've just got to know it's super dangerous and they're a bunch of liars. Listen, I track what they do constantly, and it's such a spaghetti of deception. It's like a cauldron that they're not even in control. They're like riding the beast, just like the Bible says. The New World Order is like a whore riding the out-of-control beast. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. I think people really need to turn that thing off. I stopped watching it years ago. Of course, I did in increments. First, I stopped watching the news around Clinton when Clinton was president because he was lying all the time. And I ended. I don't watch that thing anymore. I get my information from the internet. I read a lot. I think people need to read more. You can't really judge anything, and you have to read a lot of different things. If you just read one thing, you're going to get one opinion.
Well, what's going to happen is over time, you're going to learn who's lying on purpose, who does an overall good job but makes some mistakes. That's what we do. Who tells the truth but puts a spin on it. And you know, you learn where people stand just by watching what they do. By their fruits, you will know them. And for anybody who sits there, I mean, I saw some so-called libertarian leader yesterday, I've never even heard of, at the Porcupine Fest, say, you know, don't engage in conspiracy theories. And then they defined conspiracy theories as thinking the government tries to take power or do corrupt things. And I'm like, well, I mean, what moron in any culture doesn't know you better keep the government under control or it'll grow out of control like cancer? And it just shows how over the top everything's gotten and just how desperate the power structure is to try to get people back into trust in the system. Look, the general public doesn't trust the system anymore. They just feel powerless and don't pay attention, and so really aren't in the game. We've got to get people in the game to realize you're not going to have to save the world by yourself. You've got to do just little things that will bring down the New World Order together, all of us doing little things. Good to hear from you. I appreciate your call, Lawrence. We'll get to Chris, Bob, Ray, Jason, and others after our guest joins us, or you can hang up if you don't want to sit on hold for 40 minutes or something. But I want to hear what you have to say, so stay with us. And we're going to get into, undoubtedly, the best film I've ever seen documenting the fact that they know vaccines are killing and maiming people and covering it up. This is the film to give everybody who's on the fence about vaccine their kids. You know, for all the bad things that are happening, it's a cycle throughout history of tyranny comes in, the people get oppressed, they fight back, people get morals again because they realize morals are about survival and taking care of your children. Then people become decadent because once you have liberty, you get plenty. You become decadent over a few generations, corruption creeps back in, and then tyranny comes back in, and the cycle happens over and over again. And we've entered a very dangerous point in the cycle right now where the power structure realizes the pendulum wants to swing back towards freedom and truth and decency and honor and quality and beauty. And so they're trying to push it back the other way. We're in a fight here. Now, for the next 30 minutes or so, then I'm going to go to your phone calls. We are joined by a filmmaker, and you know, this came in a few months ago before it was officially coming out, and Weldon said, hey, do you want to carry this? It's a new vaccine film. And I said, we already carry some presentations by Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, who's, by the way, in this. We already carry some books. And he said, okay. He watched it. He said, yeah, I think you need to watch this. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus big film festivals. It's the greater good, and it is a film, by the way, that we carry at Infowars.com, so you support us and the filmmakers when you get it, and get a free Citizen Rule book. This is something you should give to every school library. Donate it to every public library. You want to fight the New World Order, folks. That's a great way of getting my films, other people's films. I authorize you to make copies of my films, by the way. Just libraries won't tend to take them, though, if it's a bad copy. But side issue, the point is, you know, a bad-looking cover because they think it's bootlegged or something. We allow you to bootleg, but they won't. Side issue. The point is you should air these on Access Television. You should give it to people that you see that have children. If you have neighbors, you see that the woman is pregnant. I can't help it. I see pregnant women now in grocery stores, even with their husband, and I'll come over and I'll say, man, isn't it great? I've got 3 children. Hey, you might want to look into vaccines because they even tell pregnant women to take vaccines now. And until 4 years ago, they always said don't take them because of autoimmune problems and miscarriages. And a lot of times they go, yeah, we heard that it was always bad to take shots. My sister's a nurse. This just happened about a week ago, the lady said. And she says until a few years ago, they said don't take them, but now they're saying we should. But she's saying I shouldn't. Thank you. And if somebody does say, hey, mind your own business, I've never had that happen, just say, okay, I warned you. And again, that's not getting in somebody's business. If you know that until about 3.5, 4 years ago, there was a big PR rollout saying, especially pregnant women, all the inserts before, and by the way, they still say it, said, don't take this when you're pregnant. And then now they say, well, talk to your physician. Because they've always known this. I mean, doctors, nurses listening, they're like, yeah, that's always been the case. Again, the system is fleeing forward in that they know there's massive opposition. The media admits that. They admit all these medical people are coming out. All this is unfolding. And so their answer is, Well, they've got national maps. The higher educated area of the country, the lower the vaccine rates. And the news says these wealthy, well-to-do, college-educated people have gone crazy. No, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone from 1 in 25,330-something years ago with autism to 1 in 58 now. And it's a cocktail of things. But the point is, this stuff is deadly. And it's not just the mercury that goes by the blood-brain barrier because it's directly injected into the body. It's the adjuvants. Dr. Blaylock, brain surgeon, and others have broken down. And they have studies on this. They know. Enough of me, because I want to give her at least 30, 40 minutes before we go to your calls. It's just that I want you to understand this is show life and death, and this is finally the tool. Just like A Noble Lie is great to expose false flag terror, finally a high-quality professional film with all the police officers and witnesses about Clinton carrying out that attack. A Noble Lie available at Infowars.com. Finally, we have The Greater Good available at InfoWarsShop.com. Get it out to everyone you know. Also, GreaterGoodMovie.org. But again, InfoWarsShop.com. It's won all these big international and national film festivals. I won't even try to go over them. It won the big doc in NYC. That's coveted. The Dallas Film Festival, the big official one. It won the Cinematic Vision Award, 2011 Amsterdam Film Festival. It just goes on and on. The point is it takes years to go through the film process, so now it's finally available on DVD. This film's amazing. Here's the trailer. The trailer's up at Infowars.com if you're a regular listener, but here for the full audience is the video/audio of the trailer for The Greater Good. This has to be in the hands of every nurse, every doctor. Force them morally to face what's happening. Every family getting ready to have children, you need to see The Greater Good. Very well produced. Key testimony about the cover-up, the fact they know it's killing and maiming people consciously. The CDC's own documents. This is the proof. Here is the trailer.
2 years ago, a vaccine completely changed my life. I would do anything to get my life back to normal.
History teaches us how effective vaccines are.
Vaccines are the best choice for almost all children.
I don't think it's that black and white.
Vaccines in some way have been a victim of their own success.
The government, they're trying to protect society, but these motivations interfere with, safety issues.
In the last 3 decades, the numbers of doses of vaccines have more than tripled.
We are seeing a rise in the number of children with disabilities.
What if these shots that are supposed to protect kids actually hurt your child?
After the shots, I started getting sick. I've had 2 strokes, partial paralysis, partial vision, and I'm having seizures.
I would have never dreamt that this was a side effect of a vaccine.
Many of these have the potential to be neurotoxic.
The research is incomplete, and the certainty is not scientific.
A number of prescription drugs that have been licensed as safe have been found to be unsafe.
The social fabric, it is better to insist on vaccination than to allow free rein.
The people who are approving the vaccines are taking the word of the pharmaceutical companies. The majority of vaccine research is paid for by the vaccine manufacturers themselves.
We're the only country other than New Zealand that allows advertising on TV for pharmaceutical drugs.
You can't sue the drug company that made the vaccine.
That's not science, that's politics.
Texas Governor Rick Perry has ordered that schoolgirls must get the Gardasil shot.
We can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way.
The only thing that we oppose is forced vaccination.
Sadly, some people don't do what's best for their children unless it's mandated.
We're not zealots. We're not some people that are looking for a conspiracy or a fight.
The vaccine program, it's one size fits all.
We worry about the future.
You could have 30, 40, 50 different vaccines mandated and absolutely no accountability. You have a prescription for disaster.
I have a child, and then I follow the rules, and I damage this child. That's hard for me to understand.
I just want everybody to lay down their arms and figure out what is making them so sick.
The Greater Good available at InfoWarsShop.com. But again, it goes from the perspective of showing both sides. That's what makes it so effective. But here's the issue. They have the clips that I talked about 4 years ago in Maryland where they said, it's the law, you'll be arrested if you don't take shots, with all the black people, like it's a concentration camp, being herded in to be shot up with darking police dogs. And I got the state attorney who says that on my show he started laughing and admitting it wasn't the law and that he doesn't give his kids the shots. Like it was cute and cool. And they've got that clip from years ago I couldn't find in the film. That's why it's so powerful. All right, I've given you the pitch. Get it out to everybody. This is coffin nails to their lies. And I will say what the film doesn't. I have all the Rockefeller documents, the sterilants in it, the cancer viruses. It's on purpose, okay? It's that simple. The Rockefellers took over medicine 80, 90 years ago. They funded Hitler, Kaiser Wilhelm Institute. It's eugenics. Better learn about it. Better find out. Then they sell you the treatments that they control as well. All right. I want to go to Leslie, who is our guest, Leslie Manookian, and she is the writer of the film and producer. I know that's a big intro with me ranting. We're going to go to break here in a few minutes, but you've got the floor. Tell us about this film and any comments about my points I just made.
Well, thank you so much for the fantastic introduction and for having me on the show, Alex. It's really a pleasure to be here. I couldn't agree with you more that this is one of the most important issues that we face today on the planet. And, you know, you talk about the really cavalier attitude of this public health official saying that, you know, he doesn't give them to his own kids, but he's rounding up literally 2,000 families for not giving their kids chickenpox vaccine or something like that. And I think we all really have to ask ourselves, what have we come to? Where are we? And are these policies based on sound science? Have these compounds that we're injecting into our 12-hour-old infants safe? Is there a reason to be doing this? And I think the answer to all those questions is really that the science doesn't support it, that the science isn't there, and that these policies are not based on a sound foundation of science. And if that's not the case, then how can we possibly be endorsing this? In particular, given that we require children in many states to have them before they can go to school, or for other public health services, which are paid through taxes. So I think we're really in a place where, you know, people need to start questioning what we're doing and why God gave us immune systems in the first place, and what we can do to keep those strong and healthy, and whether or not we need the government to tell us how to behave or how to keep our immune systems functioning.
Well, it's as you point out, if some pandemic came out and then they had something that was proven to be effective, that's one thing. But hundreds of vaccines they want to bring online and imply, like Perry did, that it's the law when it wasn't the law, and through fraud, like in Maryland or Texas, people line up believing they're being forced to.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing. I live in the state of Idaho, and in Idaho we have a law that says very clearly that any person can choose for any reason they deem appropriate not to vaccinate themselves or their child. But that does not stop the school district every year from taking out large advertisements in the newspaper stating that children must be immunized before they can come to school.
Lisa, bingo. Let's come back and talk about that fraud and break down the film, A Home Run of Truth. Here's the cover of the Greater Good DVD, award-winning film, now available on DVD. Anthony Kaufman of the Wall Street Journal wrote, a new documentary about childhood immunizations, The Greater Good could intensify debate around the potential dangers of vaccines. Yeah, it's like handing 2-year-olds loaded shotguns. I mean, this is just amazing that they've gotten away with this. And our guest, Lisa, who is Leslie, who's joining us right now, was just breaking down. She's the writer and producer of this film. She was just breaking down the deception, how they say it's the law, and then I get the guy on and go, you know it's not the law, and he laughs and goes, yeah, I know, I don't give my kids shots. I mean, this is sick, how in every town you're listening and they lie to you and say it's the law. Please continue.
Well, you know what, Alex, I think the most interesting thing is that we never actually studied the safety of mercury before it was put into childhood vaccines. We never studied whether it was safe to put in contact lens solutions or in antacids or any other places it's been put. Aluminum's been put in there too. We never studied the safety of aluminum, and it's been used as an adjuvant, immune system stimulant for 80 years in vaccinations. And what's really interesting to me now is that in the last 3 to 5 years, there's a growing group of scientists who are actually starting to do this research, despite the fact that it's very very risky for their careers and their futures. And they are finding that the aluminum vaccines is causing cognitive impairment, brain damage, neuron cell death in animal models, autoimmune syndromes, all sorts of immune dysfunction. And these authors have written that the potential for just aluminum, just the aluminum component on its own, to cause profound impact on the brains and the immune systems of human beings is profound, immense. And yet the CDC and FDA say that it's perfectly safe. And this is what I find the most astounding, is that this has been going on for not just a few years, but nearly 100 years, and yet no one's bothered to stop it.
Well, I saw mainline studies out of England and the U.S. a decade ago where they were saying 3 shots for the flu, 3 vaccines doubled the chances for Alzheimer's in studies they did. They know aluminum cans and aluminum cookware. I mean, there are 45-year-olds getting Alzheimer's now. Neurological disorders, off the charts. Cancer, off the charts. Everything we do in Western culture, the bisphenol A, is now in big studies linked to brain tumors, linked to women going into puberty early, men becoming feminized. This industrial society, the way it's been deployed, is killing us.
Without a doubt. And if you look at the fertility rates, the sperm counts of men in the last 50 years, a decline of 50% at least. If you look at, how difficult it is for women to conceive, same thing. And there's clearly a role that vaccines play, and the toxins that vaccines contain in disrupting our endocrine systems, our hormonal systems. So, I don't know how far the average person wants to go down that rabbit hole. I mean, clearly your viewers and listeners are far more up to speed on those issues than the massive, the general public. But there are clearly questions raised when we start taking vaccines that have aluminum and mercury in them, or mercury that's been banned in the United States, and give them to the entire world outside the U.S. and other developed countries. It really has to give you pause about what the policies are really about. And when we know that these things are disrupting our hormonal balances, and then you combine them with all the pesticides, and as you say, the bisphenol A and all the other contaminants in our food supply, the GMO food, on and on and on. These things are clearly having a major impact on our ability to procreate, on our ability to think independently, on our ability to stand up for ourselves, and our ability, I think, to really question what's going on. And vaccines are, without going too far down that rabbit hole, clearly are causing damage. And I think the point of our film is that not that we know all of this is proven, not that it's unequivocal, but that there is a growing body of science out there that casts question on vaccines.
All I know is women's breast cancer is up 2,000+%. Pediatric cancer, depending on which type, over 10,000%. Autism, thousands and thousands of percentage, from 25,000 to 1 in 68, 1 in 57. I mean, it varies the numbers. Everywhere where it's industrialized, neurological disorders, skeletal disorders. What's going on is killing us.
And let's talk about the autism thing. The CDC and FDA, the vaccine authorities in general, continue to assert that there is no science linking mercury to autism. And yet an independent scientist did a review of all of the available science, empirical research, looking into the mercury-autism link. And she found that the body of science favored a link 3-to-1, not the reverse.
Stay there. We're going to come back and break down some more of those numbers. There's been other big studies as well where nations that have higher vaccine rate have higher rates of all sorts of diseases. We'll be right back. Earlier, I was looking around for the proper quote in Providence. My memory was correct. It was a Marine Corps general known as the Professor because he studied so much military doctrine and was so successful in World War II and the Korean War. They were surrounded at the Chosin Reservoir in Korean War early in December 1950, to be precise. They were surrounded. He succeeded in breaking through and leading a 70-mile march to safety. It was reportedly more than 20 times their numbers. I just went and looked it up on the history site, who he was, from my memory. And he said, "Sir, we are surrounded. Excellent, we can attack in any direction." As that wasn't really even a sarcastic point. If you've got a smaller force, but have more high-power workable weapons, because the communist Chinese they were fighting didn't have very good weapons. Doesn't matter if it's 10, 20, 30 times the number. Now you can attack in any direction, go any direction you want. And, of course, some would look at it as, I mean, obviously it's a bad place to be in, but now you're committed. Now there's not any games. Now you know you've got to fight. And that's the position we have to put ourselves in. You know, I get emotional about this because I sit here calmly researching this year after year. And when I pop this in the DVD player, and because I would go from memory and say, oh, yeah, the state attorney, I had him on, lining up thousands of black people crying with dogs barking at him, saying, it's the law, you got to take shots. And I got him on and said, hey, you know it's not the law to take shots. You know you should have told him about the waiver. And he said, oh, you should be a lawyer. I mean, the interview's out there. Oh, you should, in fact, now that we know his name, because it's in the film, so I'd forgotten, we got to look it up and find that old interview, because it's amazing. It was on CNN. They're going, it's the law to take shots, kids crying. It was shown all over the country to make you think it's the law. And a total fraud. And I get the guy on, he's like, yeah, you ought to be a lawyer. Oh, I ought to be a lawyer because I know a little bit about reality. And he's like, yeah, I don't vaccinate my kids. I started laughing like it's funny that he knows it's bad. He doesn't do it to his kids, but he goes out with police standing behind him and goes, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. You will take it or you will go to jail. And we tried to get our media people out there to talk to the families lined up with the police dogs and the riot cops. And the police were like, get back, don't talk to them. So they could engage in a fraud and shoot them up. Again, does that give you any idea how wicked these governments are? What else are they lying to you about? And you bet I get emotional about that. Because in Nazi Germany, we use that example a lot because that's where it happened. Medical tyranny, Soviet Union, same deal. Going back to our guest, the maker of the documentary film, The Greater Good, Leslie Manookian, available at InfoWarsShop.com. For 10 minutes, I'm going to shut up because I'll keep asking questions. You've got the floor. Why should people see this film? What will they see in the film? Who should people show this to? Can people air it on Access Television? I mean, how do they show this to people and save lives?
Well, at this point, it's interesting to me. We were asked that, who's your target audience? Who do you want to see the film? We want everybody to see the film because there are somewhere between 200 and 400 vaccines in development right now. And the vaccine authorities want every man, woman, and child on the planet to have vaccines every year of their life, basically from cradle to grave. That's what's being recommended with the flu vaccine, and there are many others that are coming down the pipe. So, you know, people often think that, oh, I had my kids are 10, my kids are 12, they're grown, I don't have to worry about this anymore. This issue actually affects all of us. And as you so rightly mentioned early on in the show, neurodegenerative diseases are on the rise, and not just a little bit, but they're reaching epidemic proportions. Most adults nowadays, when in their elderly years, develop some kind of dementia. And that's not the way it's always been. And it's not supposed to be that way. And so, you know, the reason we made the film is because we wanted to reach everybody and help people to understand that this is an issue they should all care about for their children's health, but also for their own. But also, very importantly, for them to understand that this issue is not nearly as black and white as they've been told by the mainstream media. You know, we are constantly told that there's no science showing that vaccines cause any harm. We're constantly told that there's no evidence that vaccines are linked to autism, asthma, allergies, learning disabilities, speech delays, on and on and on, gut issues, all this stuff, asthma. And the reality is that I've compiled a document of over 100 studies, papers, letters to editors, and things like that that show that vaccines can cause inflammation of the brain and permanent damage, that they can cause learning disabilities and behavioral problems, that they can cause immunological problems, that they can cause gut problems, that they can cause a whole spectrum of autoimmune diseases. And as I said earlier, we're not, you know, all this research doesn't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that vaccines are causing all these things, but they certainly are enough to show that we should all have great, great reason for concern, and we should all want to figure out what the heck is really going on and whether or not more harm is being done than good by using these vaccines so broadly. And I think the other really important issue that we raise with the film that I think is so vital for all of us to understand is who should decide what we put into our bodies? Do you want the government choosing how you keep yourself well, or do you want to make that choice yourself? And if we don't have the freedom to choose what we inject into our own bodies and to our children's bodies, then are we really free? It is no secret in science that vaccines injure and kill some people. No secret. And given that, how can we possibly, yield that right of self-determination to some nondescript, faceless bureaucrat in another place? So this is one of the major issues that we've tried to raise with the film, is helping people to understand that vaccines are not candy, that there is a downside. And to me, Alex, this whole idea that vaccines are candy, that it's like drinking water, is the reason why those people will line up in Maryland to go and get the shots under threat of imprisonment and fines. Because they just think there's no downside. They believe what they've been told. And so we really hope the film helps people to understand that it's not black and white like you've been told. It's far more nuanced. And maybe you'll choose that you want to get the polio vaccine. Maybe that's what some people will choose. Maybe others will choose they don't want any vaccines. But the point is that unless you're informed and you really understand what the issues are, what the true long-term health ramifications are, then you're not free to make those choices. And we need to have that information.
Leslie, you paused there for me to interject. I've had countless scientists, doctors on. Some of them are in your film, and I understand you're trying to sound reasonable here and measured, but I have talked personally on air to more than 500 over the years and to hundreds on the street. Every time I'm on vacation or something, there's an autistic child sitting there, in the pool, and I'll say, hey, do you mind me asking, when did your son become autistic? 18 months. He was running around talking, totally happy, got the third round of shots, had a convulsion in the station wagon driving home. I know they used to arrest people till this came out. When they would take the shot and they would collapse, sometimes in the hospital, they'd say, oh, you must have beaten them. They had blood on the brain because of an autoimmune response. They knew full well what they were doing. They know. They know that, the studies are legion. And then I look at the Rockefellers and the Bill and Melinda Gates who say, get rid of grandma, euthanize people, eugenics, forced abortion. But, we want you to take shots to live longer. We care about you. This is setting a precedent for a very dangerous big pharma group, most of which came right out of Germany and actually funded Hitler and people study it. I'm not kidding. You can't make this up. He was like their little creation, who want medical tyranny to force this on us. I have Nobel Prize winner Bertrand Russell wrote repeatedly, we're going to inject people and call them vaccines to brain damage them to make them more manageable. Look it up. He says we're going to change the diet, injections, and injunctions so that the public will be sheep-like compared to the ruling elite. So I've done the study. My film Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, covers it. This is a premeditated program. You take Bayer Pharmaceutical for 11 years, knew they were shipping HIV, hepatitis, blood to hemophiliacs, and the documents came out, they knew and did it on purpose. You have chemical, biological, radiological testing on foster children, on troops, killing them. So who is this in the government that did this, and then when they get caught over the last 60 years, they never get in trouble. They never get in any trouble. Because, listen, my dad was top of his class in high school. As a junior, he was in this advanced program. They called him into the University of Texas, took him behind closed doors, the top testers of 160, I think it was like 6 of them, and gave them the speech that I'm giving you, but telling him, you're going to be part of this, okay? And my dad's not that special. If you're in the top of your class in Texas or New Mexico or New York, you're getting this speech today. That's what I'm telling people. This is a giant covert eugenics program. I know your film doesn't get into that. You're wanting it to be, very balanced. I think that's why it's the key to get out there. But any comments on what I'm talking about?
Well, first of all, I think I would just comment that I actually am from the system. I went to one of the best universities in the nation, and I got an MBA from the University of Chicago, and I worked at Goldman Sachs for a period of years and then worked in finance for 13 years. And I witnessed firsthand a lot of overt and some not so overt corruption. I actually had the CEO of a pharmaceutical company come in and tell me that their blockbuster drug that they were about to release was showing that it was causing death in some of the patients it was treating. and that the FDA was going to make them put a warning on their packaging because of this. But the good news was they still thought they'd be able to do $7 billion in peak sales. That kind of stuff is not isolated. It's not unique. It's going on all the time. I think the real issue is, Alex, that the average person doesn't get that, doesn't understand that, and hasn't connected the dots yet. And so I come from a place of wanting to educate people and bring them into the fold as easily as I possibly can. And this is such an emotive issue that if we are too frightening, too frank, then I really worry that the message gets lost. And so, I have a lot of sympathy and appreciation for all of the things that you just said. And but I think when it comes to the issue of vaccines, that we will do much more to further the message and bring more people into the fold to understand that they should want to have freedom about what they put in their bodies and to make these choices than by being more, inflammatory, I guess. And given that we are having a huge impact, there was a report just last week, maybe the week before, that the federal government studied the vaccination rate in Portland, Oregon, and found that in the last 5 or 6 years, I forget what the exact period was, but it was in a recent period in the early 2000s, that the non-vaccinators rose from 2.5% of the population to 9.5% of the population.
No, that was in, I think, the Sacramento Bee 2 days ago.
Yeah, and it's been all over the place for the last couple of weeks, but the place that they studied was Portland, Oregon. And my point is that one city has seen the number of people not vaccinating go from 2.5% to 9.5% in the last several years. People are starting to wake up to this. And in order to bring more people in, what we really want to do is change laws. What we really want to do is wake people up. What we really want to do is empower people. And we strongly felt as filmmakers that we do that by not beating them over the head, but by helping them.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you. This is something for the Joe Schmo out there questioning. Leslie Manookian, again, the writer and producer of The Greater Good, available at InfoWarsShop.com or their site, GreaterGoodMovie.org. I can tell I've seen the film, great filmmaker for somebody that I hadn't done a lot of media before. I can tell you had a lot of passion for this, and it's a labor of love. What woke you up to this is a good question.
Well, like I said, I was working on Wall Street for a long time, and I had that experience. I mean, I headed up Alliance Capital's European growth portfolio management business in London for a period of years, and it was my job to interview CEOs of multinational corporations. And for many years, I would sort of witness this stuff, but it didn't really hit me until that CEO came in and told me that he was going to do $7 billion in peak sales and kill a bunch of people in the process. And I just realized that I was playing for the wrong team. And shortly after that, I met a man in London who told me that vaccines could cause harm. And I literally thought the guy was nuts. I said, you're out of your mind. Vaccines are the greatest invention of humankind. There's no doubt in my mind that these things are great. And he said, listen, that's the one perspective. Read this book. And he gave me Neil Miller's book, Vaccines, Are They Really Safe and Effective? And I read it extremely skeptical. I'm an analyst by nature. I was super skeptical, but at the end of the book, I went and I looked in the back, and there were over 900 footnotes to peer-reviewed medical literature and mainstream news pieces. And I thought, 900? Over 900 references? Can this be true? Can this be real? I didn't want to believe it, but I committed to myself right then and there, and this was about 11 years ago, that someday I was going to make a movie on this, and I was going to go and do my own research, read the science myself, and go and look these people in the eyes. Look CDC and FDA and vaccine developers and patent holders in the eyes and ask them myself, what's really going on here?
And you've done that, and they look scared when you're talking to them. You've hit a home run, The Greater Good. Again, get this out to everybody. In the little bit of time we've got left, I want to go back, though, because I'm guessing, because I've had experiences similar to this, where you thought, oh, he's joking, I'm going to make $7 billion and kill a bunch of people. But I've interviewed genetic engineers who are making $3 million a year. They're like, hey, this potato is sterilizing the rats, but we're getting it approved. And they're like, yeah, there's too many people. That's really the plan. And then they think it's a joke, but then it gets approved. I mean, do you think he was joking when he said, I'm going to make $7 million and kill people? Or did you go do research and realize it wasn't really a joke?
I realized that all that mattered to him was corporate profits, and that is really what is the driver of everything in the world today. I mean, I guess I've gotten to the point where I recognize that there is no separation between state and the corporate world anymore, and that the only way that we are going to change that is if average citizens stand up and hold their ground. And this was the first step for me in that process, making this film to empower people so that they could stand up for themselves, so that they could go to the lobby in California and say, we're not going to support this bill that they've got in front of California now that will require every person to get a vaccine exemption from a authorized medical provider every single year. You know, I recognize that this guy was just delusional, but that not just he was delusional, but so were all the other people who were part and parcel of it.
Well, listen, Leslie Manookian, you've hit a home run. I want to get you back on the nightly news. We can do uninterrupted, long interview, or anybody else you want to invite and get you up on Skype. Great job with the greater good. God bless you. And with people like you out there, we're going to defeat this tyranny, because the special interest coming in now and being able to lobby to make us take their products, it's true tyranny. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. I am so grateful.
No, we're grateful to you. A lot of children to save. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start going to your phone calls for about 20, 30 minutes for those that have been holding. I want to hear from you, all the interesting points you raise, and then I'll continue back into the latest on Fast and Furious, and it is big. This is shaping up. They may actually bring Obama to justice. We'll also get into what's happening with the economy. That's probably the most important area, but the greater good available at InfoWarsShop.com is so important, and hopefully you'll show it to people in your area, put it on Access TV, things like that. Because, you know, it's very well produced, made for a mainline audience. It's not as hardcore as Total Reality, but people aren't ready for that in many cases. There's different schools of thought. Slapping folks upside the head seems to work, but whatever. I think this friendly approach is also good. We also have Dreams from My Real Father, Joel Gilbert. This film isn't even out yet, but we're able to sell it before it's out officially, and we're the only folks, by the way, that actually have it in stock. Because it's so hot right now. It's available at InfoWarsShop.com, and your purchase funds this whole news organization, the radio show, the nightly news, the films, the news websites, everything we're doing, and all the new reporters we're hiring. Tomorrow, I'm going to announce the male and female reporter winners and $10,000 in prizes. And you got 2 more weeks, or a week and a half now, for Phase 2, $10,000 in prizes for the Obama Dictator contest, hanging up posters in legal, lawful areas. Find out more at Infowars.com. Let's go ahead and go to Chris in Georgia. Thanks for holding. Welcome. What'd you think of that last guest?
She was awesome. She was awesome. Just first off, I just want to appreciate you for everything you do, man. You're a true patriot. Got a quick question for you. I know it's going to be kind of a difficult one to answer, but with things speeding up the way they are, how much longer do you feel like we have before the globalists are going to implement a full-scale collapse?
Well, many areas like Greece have already collapsed into total bedlam. But 6 months, a year, the globalists won't do this right away, or they'll back off a little if they don't think we're going to go along with it. But everywhere where they think they've got their people in place, like Spain and Greece and other areas, they're going to drop the hammer all the way. I mean, they hate the public. They want to impoverish. That's their stated eugenicist post-industrial view. In fact, I'm going to cover that coming up after calls, but I mean, it's the banks are getting ready. The big mega banks that are just fronts for the private interests that own them, they're getting ready to bring down the zombie banks. And when that happens, when Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and other Ponzi scheme shell corporations are blown, it's going to make, right now, it's 50-50 that it's going to be road warrior level depression. We're already in a depression, but it's a slow sliding one from recession into depression. And of course, that's on the good side. It is, I mean, now all the main analysts are saying, you better give us everything or we're going to give you a total depression. Well, we've already given them everything, but their plan is the depression. So, I mean, look at this article out of CNBC. Big banks craft living wills in case they fail. And then here's another one, avoiding a global catastrophe. Larry Summers, who helped engineer all this, and he talks about things completely melting down. Well, I mean, it's mathematically impossible unless we write off the trillion, the 1.5 quadrillion, 1,500 trillion, even hard to say that number. Unless we write all that off, and unless we explain that's not our debt and arrest all these people, they're going to bring us into total global collapse that they're going to organize and pose as saviors with the prostitute, Decepticon, collaborator, Vichy French media telling us they're the saviors. And it is going to get absolutely hellish with staged terror attacks, new wars. They're going to throw everything at us. They have been massing basically on our border. The New World Order has in every city, every town against us. They are surveilling us. They are trying to create attack forces, death squads, and they are just building up the armored bunkers, the pillboxes, the machine guns, the shotguns, the hollow point ammo, the drones for all-out war against us. And let me tell you, they're going to get their butts kicked. Worldwide transmission continues. Open phones. And the mainstream media talking about total collapse of the banking system. We're going to be getting into that. The latest on Fast and Furious and more. Christians having their churches ransacked and desecrated by Al-Qaeda under NATO command. You cannot make up the magnitude of this ridiculousness because it's just so ridiculous that Al-Qaeda always worked for the bankers, but now it's just admitted. But it's supposed to be good. And Syrian rebels ransack Christian churches. Top story, Infowars.com. Let's go to Bob, Ray, Jason, and others. Let's go to Bob right now. Bob, you're on the air from Illinois. Welcome.
Thanks for taking my call, Alex.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. I just want you to know I joined the Mormon Church in 1975, and I was ordained a bishop in 1988. And I woke up to the New World Order by reading Ezra Taft Benson's book, An Enemy Hath Done This, and also Cleon Skousen's book, The Naked Communist. And later I started listening to Chuck Harder on the radio, and he woke me up even further, and then I got Jack McLam's Vampire Killer 2000, and then I started listening to you in about 1988, or 98, I'm sorry. I voted for Ron Paul. So that might give you an idea of where I'm coming from.
Sure.
Like I say, I've been listening to you since 97 or 98. You were on WINI out of Murfreesboro, Illinois. I've enjoyed most of the guests you have on, but you had a guy on by the name of Francis Boyle, I think it was, and he was talking about Romney this and Romney that, and he had me going for a while until he said that Romney was a bishop in the church and that he had these, all these connections and blah, blah. And then he said, then he was made an archbishop in the church. There's not even any such position as archbishop in our church.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of guests on, and I don't even remember Professor Boyle saying that. But, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the Church of Latter-day Saints, but I know some stuff. I mean, was Romney a bishop in the church?
Yes.
Okay, but I mean, my issue with Romney is that most of the Mormons I know are anti-New World Order and awake more than pretty much anybody I talk to. All I know is I've got videos of Romney endorsing abortion when he was governor, and now he says he's against it. And Obamacare. So I'm just talking about Romney himself. He says some good things today, but my question is, could I believe them? Or would I be gullible if I think that, well, the Romney empowered did one thing, but the Romney that wants conservatives to elect him says another. So, I mean, you've got the floor for a minute and a half. I mean, what's your point on Romney?
Okay, well, like I told you, I voted for Ron Paul. Harry Reid's also a member of our church, but I wouldn't vote for him if he was the last man on earth.
Yeah, he's pretty bad.
Yeah. But with Romney, the Book of Mormon, which was translated by Joseph Smith in the 1820s, talks about the New World Order. And so all Mormons who are Mormons know about the New World Order, and they're against it because they know that Satan is at the head of it. And I believe that there's a possibility that Romney is one of those Mormons, and I believe that when they were talking about Ron Paul him and his wife spending a lot of time with Romney and his wife, I'm hoping anyway that Ron Paul got through to him and that maybe they're working on some things that will be good for us and that we'll appreciate. But if they are, they can't come out and say it right now because you know what would happen.
Well, I'll say this. If Romney got in and did good things, I would support him. So there you have it. I'll support anybody who does good things, who does the right thing. I just know who finances Romney. And if he double crosses the New World Order, they're going to come after him. All right, coming up, there is a cornucopia of mainstream news, financial articles saying get ready for a collapse. The globalist banks are getting ready for total collapse. Well, it's a mathematical certainty that it's designed to collapse. I'm going to be breaking that down at the bottom of the hour. Also, ISIS says gun control agenda behind Fast and Furious. Well, he doesn't say that. That's what the memo show was, to blame the Second Amendment. I've been telling you this for over a year since it broke, a year and a half. I told you about Fast and Furious 6 years ago. And now on YouTube, they're pulling the C-SPAN clips of the press conferences from 2.5, 3 years ago with Holder and Big Sis Napolitano bragging about their gun running operation and how they were running it. Because they've been caught perjuring themselves. It's open and shut. They go to jail. And I wouldn't believe that ISA would actually go after them. They are so far. And so is Boehner. So it's a good thing. I mean, I would have been happy if the Democrats would have been trying to actually impeach Bush, but they didn't. You've got to punish crime. You've got to punish unconstitutional activity, regardless of who it comes out of. Because then it scares the criminals and the bureaucrats to behave themselves. It's very elementary psychology. Ray in California. Ray, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex?
Yes.
Okay, what I wanted to say was, first off, the plan of the New World Order is containment for extermination. That's the first thing I want to say. And if you can thwart containment, you can eliminate extermination.
Okay.
You want to go on with this?
No, yeah, I mean, just restate what you said, because I kind of misunderstood. I mean, I'm not quite understanding the first thing you said about extermination.
The plan of the New World Order is basically breaking it all down as containment for extermination. They want to contain everything, then they want to exterminate. Okay? God brings life, darkness brings death. And these people are like devil worshiper extremists. They're, like the Skull and Bones. They're into death. That's what they call it, the Brotherhood of Death. Okay? And the Skull and Bones are more than you think. They're more than just Yale. They had like sub-chapters in China and Russia.
No, I know that. It's a chapter of the Illuminati. It's chapter 322.
Okay,
but it was the first big mothership out of the German Bavarian Illuminati, set up in 1832 by the Russell Trust with public opium monopoly money.
Yeah. There's another thing, too. Prior to the 18th century, both the Masons and the Catholic Church were against the New World Order. They infiltrated the Catholic Church and the Masons during the 18th century and the early 19th century. You know that, right?
Well, I mean, it's all open for debate.
Well, it's on YouTube. There's history about it. Okay.
It's on YouTube. It must be true.
Well, I mean, there's things out there. Okay, talking about that during the 18th century, they infiltrated the Catholic Church and the Masons, and they want to make the Freemasons into Illuminati Masons. And
yeah, no, that's George Washington's letters that are in the National Archives. You can pull them up. They have those all scanned in, written in his own hand, on record, his letters.
Yeah. So, anyways, the next point I wanted to bring up is that I believe that things have changed in 2006. Destiny changed, because the fact is that I think the original plan, my contention is the original plan was that Bush was supposed to attack Afghanistan, Iraq, and the two-front objective on Iran. Iran was the trigger. Okay? And what happened was he failed to do that. And how we know he failed to do that? And do you believe that movies have communicated things to the public?
Well, a lot of movies are put out by people I know, but they're generally more independent, smaller films. But even with some big actors, they have Illuminati stuff in it, like Scanner Darkly, that Rick Linklater put out, that I'm in, with Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, and Woody Harrelson and others. And who's the actor? I met him a couple times on shooting the film. We hung out with him, but then, no, I hung out with all the other folks a lot, but I didn't really hang out with him much. Who's the guy that plays Iron Man? Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. Always great actor. I always forget his name for some reason because I always end up calling him Morton Downey Jr. That's the talk show guy. But that film, they've got Illuminati symbolism everywhere because it's in Philip K. Dick's book. And the message is the Illuminati, the secret corporation, is drugging you to burn out your brain to make you a slave zombie. And they sit there and I also consulted on the film. I didn't just, I wasn't just in it. It's overtly Illuminati, and it's exposing it. But then you've got big budget things where it's pro-Illuminati. So everything in films is not programming. But obviously on Fox television, on the Lone Gunman spinoff of X-Files, where the government hijacks a jumbo jet to fly into the World Trade Center as a pretext to attack Afghanistan and uses a terrorism drill as a pretext to claim hijackers are on board when it's really remote controlled. That's exactly what they did 6 months later. And then Dean Haglund, the star of the show, came to my house and said the CIA approached him and planted those plots on them. So, yeah, when you got something like that, it is 100% pre-programming to prepare the subconscious mind, but also to have like a public bragging rights, because the Illuminati is into magic, whether it's real or not. They believe the lesser magic, if they brag about it up front and let you know they're going to do it somehow, even if it's deceptively done, it gives them more power when they do the big act. But you got 30 seconds. Finish up.
Okay, the next point is at the end of the movie W, in the Oval Office, where Bush Sr. comes in to talk to George W. Bush Jr., and Bush Sr. says that Bush Jr. 200 years down the drain, basically, I'm paraphrasing. In other words, he was saying that the message was that Bush Jr. screwed up by not attacking Iran during 2006 to start the nuclear holocaust. 3.5 billion people are still alive, and they think they pissed off darkness, so they're trying to put the destruction of the planet on the fast track. That's my point.
No, I agree with you. They want to. That's why Cheney tried to start World War III with the Russians with the attack on South Ossetia. These people they're putting Al-Qaeda in everywhere. And it's just like, give your rights up, Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda's good. And it's just like, ooh, Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda. It's like Woody Woodpecker. It's just totally insane in the contradiction that's there. Jason in Mass, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hey, thanks, Alex. I just wanted to let you know that, you really helped me unplug from the Matrix, and, now that I'm awake, I'm looking at all your documentaries and everything, and just seeing what's going on out there. And my point is that, when the president or whoever executes the martial law, I think one thing, we need everyone to awaken, but it's more so the fact that we need police and the military to awaken, because, these are the guys who, if there is ever a revolution or what's going on, these are going to be the guys that we're going to go against. And, it's up to the families and everyone else to really get into these guys' heads and let them know what's going on. They're attacking our own soldiers,
Well, that's why they're doing all this fake community policing where they get to know you and are real friendly but put handcuffs on you for no reason. So when they come get you, you don't resist. And that's why they want to get everybody arrested for no seatbelts and stuff now. The police have been told they have quotas so that you're in the system. They want you to be used to going to jail, even though you're not a criminal, to get you primed. We want to stop that. We want to circumvent that and head that off now. But you're right. One of our main focuses is to try to wake up military police. And because they're in the middle of it, they're some of the easiest to wake up, I found. Who's hard to wake up is a soccer mom who believes in the system, or some mainline yuppie worker who thinks they're part of the establishment and thinks anybody that cares is weak, and that, it's cute and fun to not care and only be to themselves. They are hard to get to. Or if a Republican's in, then people get partisan and, the agenda can't be bad. My guy's in, we win. Or if it's Democrats, Obama's in, come on, he's their guy, he's not bad. That partisanship, but that's not working anymore. And again, they're not going to call it martial law. They're going to call it civil emergency. And so they're already rolling out a type of martial law. We're already in the pot. It's bubbling. It's just not boiling completely throughout yet. And so have you noticed they're accelerating it all now?
Yeah, I mean, especially around, like, around your area about, all the tanks rolling out in St. Louis and, seeing them implement all these, these strategic areas, and it's just, it's one of those things where, I mean, these guys really need to wake up. I mean, they're going, these guys that they're saying that they're working for, I mean, these guys, the families and everything are exposed to eugenics. They're exposed to all this stuff, too.
Oh, yeah, the bankers are going to take everything they've got. Again, police and bureaucrats and people that and corporate people that work in the system, which is like half the public or more, you got to understand, the globalists plan to shut things down in phases. You're not on the winning team. They wouldn't let you on their team. You're nothing but a schmuck, a dupe, a sucker to them. Henry Kissinger quoted Bob Woodward. He said, the military are dumb animals, cannon fodder that we use. And he was quoted by others saying similar things. So they'll have parades and tell you they care about you. They think you're dumb animals. So I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm street smart. I've got a decent intelligence, but I'm not some super genius. I'm smart, and I didn't decide to join evil because I realized it's a con game. Because I couldn't even really join evil because it's a scam. It's a con. Plus, I don't want to join evil. And my instincts, my gut, my spirit burns with energy and desire to crush these people. So I can't even control myself. My bones, I think they say in Ezekiel, burn. I mean, isn't it Ezekiel in the Bible? I'm not comparing myself to a prophet, but it's a similar feeling. He's saying, look, God, you got me doing all this. They said they're going to kill me, but I can't shut up. Can you make me shut up? They said they're going to kill me, but I can't shut up. I can't shut up. And you know what? It's that feeling. It's not, oh, I've got courage, that I'm going to go fight evil. Folks, what's going to win this is not being able to control yourself. Not being able to help going out and taking action. Thank you for the call. I looked at the hundreds of entries that came in for the $5,000 round one prize Obama dictator poster, which is just about getting them out, posting things in the real world, not just internet, and defiling this tyrant, because he needs to be defiled. And I look at these people, the families, the children, the beautiful spirits they have. It's like I can see their spirit through their eyes, through their face, the reflection of it. And it's just so good to know there's so many good people. I salute you. We're going to do this together. We're going through this. This is going to happen one way or the other. So we've got to go ahead and just gut up and go through it together. Let's go ahead and talk to Mike in Illinois. Mike, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hello, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing? Just three things. You're always talking about co-op, how the globalists like to co-op. For instance, say the Occupy movement, globalists co-opted.
Yes.
Okay, well, why not co-opt the globalist movement of one world government and say, yeah, we want it, but we want it implemented under the American Constitution?
Well, that's what Lord Monckton has said, just as a point of debate, because they're not going to ever do that. Go, oh, well, you're now admitting your world government, and it's authoritarian, and the EU elects parliaments, but they have no authority. The bureaucracy does, run by big banks, and you brag you're dictators. You see, it's not even so much arrogance. They've got to admit it now because we've exposed it. But they're like, well, we're the experts. Oh, really? Okay, well, how about we let nations vote if they want to be part of this? And they're like, oh, no, can't do that. I mean, you got to be careful. Anything global is so far away. It's going to become far-reaching, the faraway imperial seat. I don't think we'll ever have global government. I mean, I think you could have an alliance of free nations with a sacred code of liberty, freedom, private property, family, anti-eugenics, education on monetary issues, and that would be the society that went to the stars. But we don't have an alliance of the good countries. The truth is the bankers started taking over about 100 years ago all over the world. They already had England and Europe to a great extent before that for over 200 years. And they would actually go set up the enemy, not controlling them, but set them up and fund them through subsidiaries to then knock them down. I mean, that's smart. They play the part of the savior, but actually create the threat. And of course, they write books about that. Carol Quigley's written books. Others have. So it's all right there how they operate. I mean, look at what do you think of them publicly giving Libya and now parts of Syria to al-Qaeda to slaughter Christians and Jews? And it's in the newspapers, but it's kind of like, well, that's just what happens.
Well, it's outrageous, and all my neighbors, I bring it up, and they don't say a word. They don't know what to say. They've got their heads in the sand.
Yeah, but if I want to fly, some weirdos like, well, I got to grab your genitals because Al-Qaeda might be in there. And I'm just like, come on, man. This is a power grab. What, are you a felon? You think it's cool you're a felon? I mean, literally, it's a bunch of crooks that want their way with us who go, I'm doing it because of Al-Qaeda. Ha, ha, ha. I mean, what a sick joke. Anything else, sir?
Oh, no, just appreciate what you're doing, and I wish there was something more I could be part of and join, and I wish there was more of a movement, Dad.
Well, sir, listen. We've got planetinfowars.com. It's got like 30,000 members. I haven't really started promoting it yet because it's in beta, but it's starting to work really well. Had a few bugs. There's a ton of folks in Illinois. Go search the Illinois groups in there and get involved. Just start it. Go do an access show. Go get a local radio show. It's easier than you think. Take action. Let's talk to another caller here. Who's up next? Ricardo in New York. You're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
I have two quick things I'd like to say. First, about the Stop Dictator Obama contest. I think the campaign. I think this campaign is really good, but I don't think it's enough because, people are gonna. Some people are just gonna see those posters and vote for Romney. So I was thinking after this campaign is over, we should, launch one against Romney.
Well, Romney is not the president yet. I didn't launch one against Obama because he wasn't in office yet. But if Romney gets in and starts trying to restrict the Second Amendment, or he's agreeing with Obama on legalizing illegals, I saw that, or things like that, we probably will. Mainly, Obama is trying to go after the guns right now. Obama is the front man saying we're under UN command, the military. And so he's the guy with the power. He's got the Justice Department. He's who's dangerous. He's who it's dangerous to go up against. And so he's the big dog. He's the big front man. Stay there. I'm going to come back and explain more of this to you. It's about getting people out on the streets. I said it could be whatever poster you want it, as long as it's exposing Obama and his crimes. But, I mean, I cut my teeth exposing Clinton, then Bush, now Obama. I mean, they're all puppets. I've talked about it ad nauseum, but I'll get your take on the other side. Okay, Ricardo in New York. Then I'm going to go into a big news blitz and then back into your calls. He was asking if the Obama dictator contest is the best idea. Well, you heard how that started last Monday on air. Not this Monday, but last Monday, like 9 days ago. Obama was announcing that he would just make the illegal aliens legal. He's now announcing that they won't have ICE pick up illegal aliens when they even commit felonies in Arizona. He's got the UN giving orders and NATO giving orders to Congress. And he's the supposed president who's now become this traitor-in-chief. And so I said, that's it. We need to put out provocative signs. And I did see some newscast. Well, I saw some of the videos sent in where it showed news cameras there, but I never saw those news reports, so people should send those in. Now we're into phase 2. I said, you got 4 days till Friday. Post the signs in legal, lawful areas. Make your own poster, or use our posters that we've made, Obama dictator, to get people thinking about this, because they understand a president being a dictator. Because that's how he's acting, that's how he's behaving. They don't understand things like the private Federal Reserve. And the plan is to get enough of these up to get media coverage of it, because they did this with the Obama posters. It was in well over 100 newspapers, a whole bunch of TV stations. It was on news in Ireland, Japan, Norway, all these different places, this news came out. Hey, guys, I just forgot to do it during the break because I've got my children at work with me today. I hate to honeydew everybody here, but can I have a pollen burst, please, with a full glass of water? Thank you. Plus, I got a bunch of work, and I need my afternoon caffeine. Thank you. Oh, there you are. Thank you. I tell you what, awesome. I've got them. I just need water in here because what's going to happen is I'll never have time to get out there and get it, and I'm starting to cough. Thank you. the third hour sometimes. I just get busy during the breaks and was talking to my children who are running around out there, and didn't go get my water. I'm going to put a little water cooler, I'm serious, right over here. One of those little floor units, like on a little bench. I can just get all the water I want instead of running you guys ragged once a day to get me some water. Anyways, I'm being sarcastic. At least I didn't like a Tabasco event I had a few days ago. And sure, we probably could have thought of a better thing, but it's pretty darn good. I mean, what do you have? Like Romney and Obama's faces split and then just say the two parties are a dictatorship or something? People already know that. I mean, we've had programs where we put up during flu season when that hoax was going that it was all a giant hoax and that, hey, honey, you're distracting me in the control room. I told you can come to work, but you can't come running around the office like that. It's the summer. My children are homeschooled. They're very good, but they're very excited at work. And my oldest daughter is running around out there. And, I mean, it's distracting when she comes up and starts putting her face up on the glass there. Thank you so much, guys. By the way, this is a product placement. I didn't do the product placement on purpose, but I might as well. Pollen Burst is the best energy drink I've ever had, full of B vitamins, trace minerals, and then a little bit of caffeine. And I get so much more energy instead of having afternoon coffee now. I used to have like 5-6 cups a day. Now I just have a cup in the morning, maybe a cup when I get to the office, and then it's Pollen Burst. And if I got to work till like midnight or do Coast to Coast AM or something, I'll have like a 9 p.m. Pollen Burst. That hits the spot. Thank you. InfoWarsTeam.com to get free shipping on it. On the qualifying orders, you sign up for auto ship, and it supports the broadcast. InfoWarsTeam.com. Or you can call if you have any questions or want to be a distributor for us, 877-551-1301, InfoWarsTeam.com or 877-551-1301. And then we can take the little profits we have as well and put it into contests to get the word out. I mean, look, I don't want to sit here and over-elaborate. I got a bunch of news here to go to in your calls to answer his question, Ricardo in New York. But I guess I could have a week where we say, what's your idea for a contest? All I know is this worked really well last time because the media comes out and says there shouldn't be a First Amendment, you shouldn't talk about Obama, and then other people say, well, I'm going to post signs, and it was really a big deal and had a big effect. I don't know. I mean, we had Google bombs for a year and could make the #1 search term whenever we wanted until they changed the algorithm to block that. That tool, I mean, we're still in the top Google searches just organically sometimes, but you know, they've blocked us being able to do that. I mean, you've got all the power. People say, well, I wish we could get together. I wish we could do more. You're going to have to do it. I mean, planetinfowars.com. Get organized there. Create your, I mean, we have an area for activism where you give us ideas and ideas to each other and do that. There it is, resistance, activism, it's all right there. There's whole areas. But Ricardo, what are your ideas? I mean, what's effective here?
Well, I don't know. I was I really like agree with what you're saying. It's just that was some like some constructive, It's just
no, I hear you, buddy. I just wanted to have you, because I wanted to be able to have you have a response there. Because remember, I can't magically do everything. I can come up with certain ideas, I can get certain things done, but I'm not all powerful. Okay, let's go to another caller, and then I'll get to the news. Richard in New York, you're on the air.
Hi, Alex. This is part of the Clergy on Response team. I told you about the Harriman ritual room, throne room up at the Harriman estate compound. But I'd like to tie in something about the Tom Cruise film about Eyes Wide Shut. We're absolutely up against real live Satanists, but in that movie is a clue to the Harriman complex. When Tom Cruise buys a cape and a mask from a costume shop, there's a little. I worked in the movie industry and in also with a news show that has a stopwatch in it on Sunday nights. But when Tom Cruise buys that costume, there's a little neon sign that says rainbow. Now, the guy that has the satanic ritual ceremony owns that company. Now, I believe it was Sean Stone that said some months ago that he believed when Tom Cruise is headed across the bridge, he's going to Nyack, New York. I know.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, Sean Stone's one to know. I'm just going to leave it at that. I mean, let me tell you. I tell you what, Sean Stone, I wish he'd tell you everything he's seen. Can you imagine what he's seen?
Well, I'm going to give you a little hint that that the Harriman, I know that area like the back of my hand, and we've got our people all over that place, and there's no way that that kind of ceremony could have taken place in Nyack without us knowing about it. But a postman a long time ago from the Tuxedo Park, Harriman area told me, and I had no idea what he was talking about at the time, that that area was known as End of the Rainbow. Now, one of our guys hopped over the fence and got inside of the Harriman complex, and I described part of that to you. You could easily produce that inside of that area, and no one would know. Now, I'm going to tie in something else about Warren Boetticher and the theft of Warren Boetticher's stuff. We know that the New World Order globalists want to remove the property from the middle class and destroy the middle class and give the property to the elites. I believe that Mr. Warren Boetticher's stuff, they're going to find out that the judge probably has hidden real estate off of his financial forms and ethics forms, etc. Now, this got my partner murdered in New York, Sonny Shu. He's got a blog spot that people can go to on the net. The guy that's produced that is not telling the entire truth.
Well, listen, here's the deal. You got to send me some info on that. It's too convoluted, sir. I don't know about that case out in Montana. I'm just trying to help a World War II hero veteran who's losing his house. You know, for all I know, the trustee's a nice person, and you know, he got set up by some people that brought him to the trustee. The whole point is, what happened there is wrong. And we're investigating it. No, I hear you, but I appreciate your call. I appreciate your call. We're now going to go ahead and take one more call, and then I'm going to get into the news here, okay? Let's go ahead and talk to Brian in California. You're on the air.
Hi, Alex Jones. I wanted to say that Obama declared martial law a month ago under executive order blocking prosperity of persons threatening the peace, security, or stability of Yemen. In the second paragraph, it says, I hereby declare a national emergency.
Well, they do that every year. We've always, since 1933 in the War Powers Act, been under martial law. That's why I try to explain but a physical martial law is being slowly, incrementally turned up. That's why the Sergeant of Arms gets a visit from the White House every year. It's on C-SPAN. They say, we're here with a letter from the president. And then they declare the emergency. And then that's how the TSA sticks their hands down your pants. It's how the national security state does all this. So, yes, I remember covering that. And every year he issues a new emergency. I mean, this is what we live under, is emergency rule, COG rule, yes.
I think Ron Paul knew about it, and that's why he stepped down when he did, because it was about the same day that this came out that he stepped down.
Well, let me just expand on that, sir. Did you hear what I said? Since the War Powers Act, 1933, they declared a national emergency, and we never left it. That's how he could order, and I say it's an illegal order because it's fraud. Everyone turned their gold in, and they gave them paper back and then basically doubled the price of the gold in the next few years. The Firestone family got caught setting up dummy corporations in Europe to buy their gold back. Roosevelt declared martial law under the Reorganization Emergency Powers Act of 1933. And so Ron Paul stepped down because Ron Paul wasn't going to win the election. And I like Ron Paul. I like Rand Paul. They're good guys overall. I don't like seeing them go into more of a political mode when they were always the purists. It's not that I get mad if someone's political overall, if they've always been political. And I appreciate your call, sir. My issue was that I watched the letters going out to constituents and out to myself because I've given them both money. And it's like, we're still going to win. Get in there. Get the delegates. And I'm like, but then Rand comes on my show and says, yeah, well, now it's going to be Romney. And it is an honor to be considered for VP. Remember a few months ago? And I'm like, okay, I'm being polite. And then it's like, keep everybody going along. And then get right to the point and say, okay. Well, remember, Paul made that announcement that he was no longer going to campaign in states. And they went, but that doesn't really mean we're dropping out. And I was kind of like, I mean, it was like a double talk stuff. And I understand Ron Paul got run ragged. Ron Paul did thousands of stops. Ron Paul's got mainline Republican politicos running his operation now. And that's great. Okay, I just don't have to be all hot and bothered politically about the polls anymore. That's great. I agree with most of their votes. I even understand why Rand came out against GMO labeling, because he's always said the feds, he wants to get rid of the FDA. Notice they push all this poison on us. Special interest control it. He says, let the states do it. And we should do it at the states. And he's voted to not let the feds block states having labeling. Now, you can debate that and say, well, GMO's so bad, we deserve a right to know. And while we're going to have an FDA, they might as well demand labeling. I see that. I mean, I understand the thought process, though, of a libertarian purist to say, don't let the feds label it. But instead, the big companies are lobbying to have states not label it. So I don't have any ill will towards Rand Paul or towards Ron Paul. I just know the direction they're going, and I told you the direction they were going, and then you see their statements by their people that speak for them, you know, Jack Hunter and people, who just says, well, we want Republicans to like us, and we want to be liked, and we want to get mainline Republican support. Well, great. Hell, support NDAA, support endless war, support torture, support more prisons, support the drug war. If you want to make, you know, the so-called mainline Republicans like you, oh, okay, great. I just don't have to get into a worship fest over it. I'm not interested in having them on my radio show anymore. It's gone. I mean, I guess if they contacted us, which they had before to get on, I'd go, okay, and I'll ask them a few questions. And I'd try to be positive and say, hey, you're doing this, you're doing that. Rand Paul's doing a lot of good stuff. Going after the TSA, you know, going after a lot of things. But the magic's gone. The magic's gone. And so that's great. That's good. And I hope the little political analysts they've got working for them have a great wedding with the GOP. I hope it's great, and they can all wear nice little white bridesmaid gowns up there. I'm not going to the party, okay? So that's all I have to say about that. I mean, I don't even want to get into Ron Paul. I hope people just don't even bring it up, okay? Because I'm glad I did what I did, kind of going wild a few weeks ago, because it was real, it was me, it's who I am. Because it's personal when things like that happen. But I'm glad I did what I did because it was real. But the duality, I wish I wouldn't have gotten so angry, because it's just, what do you expect? You know, I realize I am a weirdo. I mean, I try to not compromise. You can't compromise with pure evil. And I understand why people do, and that's fine. I think it's a big mistake. It's more of a sadness. It's more of a sadness, but it shouldn't get any of us down. Ron Paul's retiring, and Rand Paul is still a great senator when it comes to the Second Amendment and a lot of issues. And so that's great. It's just that we get mad and angry because it was so pure. And then it gives others that exaggerate and make stuff up about him excuses. Because I've looked into some of the stuff being said, you know, like Governor Walker's related to the Walker family. I looked it up. That's not true. Or, you know, Ron Paul is a Mason who wants us all to use drugs. I mean, it's just pure baloney. And you know, people then, oh, look how bad Rand Paul is. You know, he works for GMO companies. He doesn't want you to be able to label it. That's not why he did it. He says the feds don't have that jurisdiction. Get rid of it. And here it is. I've got all this news. I'm going to come back and hit Biden. It's a depression for millions and millions of Americans. BuzzFeed has that video. Wow, Biden occasionally tells the truth. And then I've got what I mentioned last week, as it dovetails with all this. Larry Summers, Washington Post, avoiding a global catastrophe. And then it says, big banks crafting living wills in case they fail. CNBC, they're getting ready to totally implode like Enron. They're moving the assets out the back door right now. All that bailout money you give them. They never intended to bail jack diddly squat out. And you got one of the biggest cities yet going bankrupt, Stockton to file for bankruptcy. Again, you can keep bailing it out. The money never goes to bail it out. The tickets the cops write don't go to prop it up. It all goes offshore. The plan is to implode. Remember, they told us 3 years ago that the recession ended, though even with the cooked economic numbers, it showed we've been in a depression. And as the depression gets deeper, well, now Biden comes out and says it's a depression for millions and millions of Americans. And now as they start hinting they're going to do QE3 soon, well, look for gold to go up when they actually do that. They've been trying to hammer it down because it exposes the fiat currency. It is going to just exacerbate everything, and people on fixed incomes are going to really see their purchasing power shrunk. Now, again, I mentioned this last week, but it dovetails with this other news. Avoiding a global catastrophe, Lawrence Summers. This is the guy, more than anybody, who helped engineer the Glass-Steagall, the derivatives, the housing bubble, everything with Clinton. And he goes on to admit that raising taxes stalls the economy, but that they've got to have the money, and then basically says that Europe's going to implode, and the answer is rich people are going to have to belly up to the bar and save the global economy. But he means people making a few $100,000 a year and up, not the people controlling billions that are offshore. He says a Eurozone collapse would be an economic disaster that might define our era. Oh, really? Think so? But they admit now, this was in the London Telegraph last week, they want to collapse it into a banking union. So they're going to collapse it into something far worse. Now, continuing here, here's the new news today. The point is that, oh, we told you this collapse was coming and was engineered a decade ago, 5 years ago, told you what the cause would be, told you what their solution would be, and now they admit it all because it's a total plan. That's the key. People are like, well, yeah, we need troops on the streets. Things are collapsing, but it was planned, and they're never planning to get us out of it. That's from the Bilderberg sources. And this article, I've got to cover this more on the Nightly News or tomorrow because it's so important. CNBC, big banks craft living wills in case they fail. 5 of the biggest banks in the United States are putting finishing touches on plans for going out of business as part of government-mandated contingency planning. That's to move the assets out the back door that could push them to untangle their complex operations. You mean the derivatives, mortgages sold 20 times over, or houses you don't even own, you say you do? The plans known as living wills are due to regulators no later than July 1st. Man, we're getting close, folks. Under provisions of Dodd-Frank financial reform law designed to end the too-big-to-fail bailouts of the government. The living wills could be as long as 4,000 pages. That'll just be a scam that Congress then under law says they're allowed to engage in. J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. To OSC submitting the first liquidation scenarios to regulators of the Federal Reserve. Got to love that. All those banks are shareholders in the private Fed. So the bosses are going to give it to the Federal Reserve that's their holding company. And then they're going to decide themselves in bankruptcy, which will include sucking us dry, holding us hostage, and then holding us hostage again, and then holding us hostage again, and holding us hostage again. And as all the cities and states go bankrupt. Aaron was showing me the latest numbers out of the comprehensive annual financial reports for California, where they've got 70+ trillion in liquid slush funds off budget, and then oh, you just heard me right. I mean, the numbers are just insane. They've been putting it in there for like 60 years, and then they claim they're, $500 billion or something behind on budget. I mean, it's just the numbers. We're going to do a whole report on that soon. We've been posting some of the articles up there. But, I mean, this is all hiding in plain view, and I got to pull the numbers up. I'm going from memory. It's just totally insane. Yeah, folks. We're talking about 1.5 quadrillion worldwide, 1,500 trillion are the numbers we're talking about. And it's all right here. And then I've got other ones. Stockton to file bankruptcy will be the largest U.S. city to fail. Oh, and then this big article. He's on tomorrow. This just broke at Infowars.com. Whistleblower reveals plans to evacuate London during Olympics. Body bags. Infowars.com.